From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up! Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
and this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant, proudly presented by Zaxby's. Indescribably good. Did I mention I had the kickin' chicken sandwich the other day, Corey? If I didn't, I had the kickin' chicken sandwich. Not even all that hot. Nice little blend of the tongue torch and the ranch. Don't be scared. Warchant.com. You folks don't be scared. Sign up for a membership. FSU Spring 2020. FSU Spring 2020. Sign up for a year. Get 18 months worth of access and a $50 gift card to garnetandgold.com. And it's an e-card, so if you live in Idaho or West Virginia or Montana, you can still shop on garnetandgold.com and get what you want. You cannot beat what's going on over at warchant.com right now, can you, Corey?
You cannot, buddy. You cannot. It's by far the best site covering Florida State athletics. It's probably the best site covering any athletic department in the country. I might be biased.
No.
But I feel like that's accurate. I think there were studies on that, right?
Yeah. Big facts.
Yeah, there was an independent study in obviously Warchant 1 going away. So yeah, it's a great site. It's with great people, and you need to be a part of it. Yeah. If you're listening to this, you're already sort of a part of it, but you have no idea the warm embrace of the Warchant family until you're an actual part of Warchant.com. By the way, I had Zaxby's. Stephanie and I had Zaxby's Monday night for dinner.
Nice.
Got my grilled chicken Cobb.
Okay.
Salad with fried mushrooms. So I couldn't eat all healthy.
Well, the fried pickles are back. Should get the fried pickles.
I've never been a huge I'm sure theirs are great.
Absolutely.
Never been a huge fried pickles fan, but their fried mushrooms are off the charts.
There we go.
They're as good as they get, man. They're awesome.
All right, fantastic. So we're going to do Renegade Express on YouTube live today at 5 p.m. So post your questions now over on the Tribal Council. The thread is up. We will then adapt that show into the Thursday edition of Wake Up Warchant because Ira is in Greensboro for the ACC men's basketball tournament. So Showtime, which is supposed to air every Thursday, has been pushed back to probably next week. So we'll do a live chat Wednesday, 5 p.m. on YouTube. We will then make that our podcast for your listening pleasure on Thursday. We also are slated to get Dallin Cuff from the ACC Network at ESPN. I don't know if we'll put him on the show tomorrow. We're going to definitely talk to him later today. Will that make the show on Thursday or will it be pushed to Friday? Just wait and see. We'll get his thoughts on where Florida State stands in his sort of bracket, if he has one, or what he's been thinking about Florida State's sort of rise. We were at football practice yesterday. Lots to talk about from there. I kind of want to lead with baseball, but I'm not going to. We're gonna just dabble real quickly. Huge win for Florida State. I think it was nearly 1,400 days since they last beat the University of Florida in collegiate baseball. 2-0 win. Huge game out of Antonio Velez and Parker Messick. 2-0 win. 11-game skid snapped. I am over the moon about it, Corey. I think it's a huge win, and I sincerely mean that.
Yeah, you never know what it does to a psyche of a team, but it certainly can't hurt after you've lost to a team 11 straight times to come out and get a win and to shut them out on their home field. I mean, the Messick kid, Velez too, man. Velez was really good last year, and then the game in Baton Rouge just put him on it seemed like another level, another pedestal.
Yeah.
And so what he did, 6 innings of what? Well, obviously shutout baseball, but like 7 strikeouts.
1 hit.
Or 8 strikeouts.
Yeah, I think one hit, two walks. Nobody got past third base the entire night, or nobody got past second base, the entire night.
And then Messick comes in, man, and that kid's just wired different, dude. He's just wired different.
Yeah.
They haven't had they haven't had many guys. No, I guess most colleges don't, but they haven't had many guys quite like that guy with the stuff, and like the mindset, like the nasty. Yeah, just like he loves that moment. Mm-hmm. He loved being on the mound against Texas Tech. I know he gave up a game-tying home run. The kid the really good hitter, hit a really good pitch and just got it over the short screen and right. But he throws strikes. He throws hard. He loves the moment. He embraces it, man. He's a fun dude to watch. He's a difference maker, and so is Velez. And the offense is the offense. Not many teams score a lot against Florida. Florida State certainly had their chances. Of course, they left 13 guys on base. But shout out to Nander for getting the run home in the 8th, putting the bat on the ball, which is easier said than done to get that run home and get them that extra insurance run. But yeah, good for them to bust the streak. And now it's a big RPI win too. But now 11-5 on the season, playing again today against Illinois State.
A team that was in a regional last year. And also, they handed Florida their first loss of the season. Florida was the last remaining undefeated team in the nation, so suck on that, University of Florida. I don't know what's going on. So basketball, I imagine basketball is in North Carolina. They're not going to talk to the media in Tallahassee, I assume.
Probably not. No, I think they'll have a media availability in Greensboro.
Okay. Well, check out warchant.com. Ira's in Greensboro. We'll probably have him on the show at some point in the remaining 2 shows we have this week to talk about Florida State basketball. We'll maybe even dabble in some of that later on before we double back to baseball. Let's talk about football, Corey. It's, as you said, it's probably why we have jobs. It's probably why most of the folks, let's be honest, even attended Florida State and plummeted into debt to attend the university because the football team is pretty cool, and it was fun to go to football games back in the day and watch a team win. And hopefully those days are not too far away. Day 2, a lot of the same good stuff we saw. Feels like the intensity, the focus, which are good words to talk about rather than something esoteric like vibe, right? Like good vibe, good focus, good attention to detail, great intensity. These are the things that continue to carry over from practice 1 to practice 2. Again, it's obviously extremely early in this whole marriage, but honeymoon's going good so far. I'm ecstatic.
Yeah, it's easy to like what you see. And again, I don't want it to be. I don't want us to not to be too dismissive about it, but it's just I hope the people on Warchant see what a difference it can make for us to get this kind of access. Number one, not just the observations we write after practice. Did you write yours?
No, man. It's just, I have nothing to add. I read Ira and yours, and I'm like, man, I really have nothing else to add. And I mean, I saw the same sort of stuff.
Throwing a little something. Come on, buddy. I see you writing down. You brought me a notepad, which was awesome today. I really appreciated that.
Yeah. Well, I got maybe 1 or 2 things I didn't talk about. I can save it for the podcast. I save it for the listeners. I save it for the folks that are loyal to Zaxby's.
Fair. Gotcha. Yeah. But yeah, so you not only do you get the observations, but we talked to 2 coordinators and 5 players, right? Including the Corbin kid who we hadn't talked to since he transferred. Yep. The Australian punter who I mean it's crazy listening to that dude talk. And just Labor, everybody was we had 5 other guys available again and 2 coordinators and Norvell. It's a new day. And if you're ever going to sign up, I know this sounds like almost like a late Saturday night infomercial. But if you're going to sign up, for Warchant, now's the time. Like we get more access than you can ever imagine. So get on board, and it's not $39.99 a month. Ugh. No, it's not even $29.99. No. I mean, we're crazy with the prices we're giving away here. Yeah. Was it like $9.99 a month?
Well, yeah. I mean, even less than that when you factor in the fact that you get a $50, well, not the gift card, but the fact that you sign up for a year and you get 18 months worth of access. It's less than $10 a month.
It's incredible. What are you doing, folks? But yeah, so to that point, though, again, just huge kudos to Norvell for opening it up like this. I don't know that there's a college in the country that's as open as this. And then what that lets us do, what that lets us watch, in the opinions, strong opinions that we can form, and informed opinions more than anything about what we're watching. So when we watch, I watched Fuller a lot. I was on the defensive side for a good portion
you were.
Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And watching Fuller, I brought this up to Asante Samuel, but he was talking to to one of the DBs, one of the safeties, about when you're jamming someone, and you hear the term a lot, punch, like you want to punch them in the shoulder pad. Yeah. You want to punch them and throw them off their route. And he told one of the players, hey, yeah, punch him when you get up, or when he's trying to break free, when he's trying to get by you, give him a little punch. And then he stopped the drill afterwards and said, no, not that kind of punch. I don't want your arm extended. I want your arm bent so you can get more leverage. And it's just that kind of thing that I don't think is normal. It certainly hasn't been normal around here. And I asked Asante about that, and he goes, "Yeah, man." He goes, "It's about discipline and it's about detail." And that's the kind of, and he goes, "You're going to see a huge difference, but with the attention to detail and the discipline, it's stuff that was missing before, and it can't be overstated. It might be a little overstated about maybe how much different it is than a normal college coaching staff, perhaps, or a good one.
Yeah.
But compared to what these kids have been getting, not just for the last 2, but the last 3 years, in my opinion, what these players have been getting, it's just it can't be more different. Every little thing. They had in another thing when another thing I brought up when I was giving my observations, but I noticed was when the safeties were working on combination routes and how to defend them. When somebody comes across or somebody goes, do you stay with your guy or do you go out in the flat, that kind of thing. And Fuller was giving instructions to the guys running the routes too. He wasn't just concerned with the guys that were actually a part of the drill, playing safety, getting it right. He wanted the guys running the drill to give his players the best look. And that's huge, man. It's little things, but you make your teammates better when you do stuff like that. And that's the kind of stuff that, to me, is so important at this time of year, man.
Absolutely. And, I think one of the questions we were asked on Renegade Express last week, and again, we'll do Renegade Express later today, 5 p.m. live on YouTube. Post your questions over on the Tribal Council. Was, what are we looking at specifically? I think Maxwell Gibbs tried to extort us into a 5-star review for a specific answer, and kind of rattle off a couple things. One of the things that I think I did say was I just want to kind of see how they, and you mentioned this in the video, how they're taking reps in individual drills, at least when it comes to defensive backs, because that felt like a very go through the motions, sort of lackadaisical part of practice from what the limited thing that we could see from the previous staff. It'd be DBs on DBs, and the route being run by the defensive back was just so 50% speed, just like no real competition going on. And that was something I kept an eye on Saturday during the first practice. I wasn't able to watch it on Tuesday, but I saw it on Saturday. And, I mean, it's real. I mean, it's crisp, aggressive route running against your fellow defensive back to try to make them as good as you can make them. It's I guess it's part of, another thing that Ira might have echoed after Saturday's practice about the whole serve your teammate kind of thing. So the fact that there's the attention to detail, but also I think Adam Fuller said care factor is something he used when he talked about the care factor. He likes the care factor from this team. Guys, it matters to them. I mean, these guys are competitors. They want to win. I'm sure games and preparation meant something to them last year. But the level of urgency and the level of focus that they've shown, and again, a limited amount of time that we've seen, but it's just hard to imagine that this is not going to be something that's going to sustain. Now, kind of jokingly, I almost think we need to maybe set like an over-under of 2.5 of guys that are probably going to transfer out. Because, man, it's going to be hard to play for this coaching staff. The staff is hard on just about everybody. They also are quick to praise when you do well. But just, again, to your point, the level of detail, the way that these players are showing that they care and that they're, really out there straining. Again, these are just good things that make you feel good about the direction of a team. And, yeah, this is probably what Alabama fans are accustomed to, or Clemson fans, and it's probably nothing earth-shattering that's happening in Tallahassee right now. But just it's hard to envision that it's not close to like a 180 flip for these players, and to see them kind of taken so well to it so early. Again, encouraging sign.
Yeah, and I know we brought this up in the past, but because, again, we didn't get to watch a ton of practice time when Willie was here, but there was that one video of the running back drill and the ball security drill, and just how completely nonchalant and nonsensical it was. Imagine one of the GAs or one of the other players, teammates, slapping at the ball like that person was slapping at the ball, and what Norvell would do if he saw it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if a kid was just barely like, oh yeah, I'm gonna hit you, I'm like rubbing a baby's head. Like no, man, that's not. They would all explode. And I bring that up because, again, watching Alex Atkins coach the offensive line early on in practice on Tuesday, they were doing a drill where he was kind of working on their steps, and he was working on it was two guys going at once, and they were going up against a teammate holding a bag. And the teammate holding the bag was supposed to, give them some fight, like make it hard. And they're concentrating on their steps. They're concentrating on looking at him, at Atkins, off to the side, kind of, I guess, playing the role of maybe a linebacker, and having to get off a block and then get to him, looking at him as they're doing it, as they're lifting the teammate. And, there was a moment where one of the guys holding the bag kind of just was going through the motions. And he's like, no, man. You got to, would a defensive lineman play him like that? You've got to act like a defensive lineman. Give him hell.
Yeah.
Give him hell. And so the next rep, those two guys holding the bag, it was almost like a brawl, like a fight. Like they were making it hard to be pushed back, which is kind of what football is. And that's what offensive line is. It is hard. And so if you don't make it hard for your teammates, they don't get better. So that, again, that's just another positive sign.
Iron sharpens iron. Is that what you're trying to say, Corey? Iron sharpens iron?
I think I've heard that before.
Okay.
Great saying. I think it applies here.
Right.
Iron does sharpen iron, as we all know, as I coined back, I think that was 2017 now.
Yeah. Right.
That I coined that phrase. Really kind of taken off, actually. I've seen it a lot.
I've seen it on shirts. High schools have put on banners in their weight rooms. It's crazy, man.
It is crazy, and I don't get anything for it.
No,
not a red cent, not one dime.
Hey, can I jump you real quick? Just about your point about GAs and I saw them doing a fumble drill, and like the GA was responsible to throw the ball, like sort of mimic a fumble and throw it on the ground so that they could work on covering it up. And one of the coaches was like, "Man, like it was a really bad sort of throw. It was just like a limp wristed sort of like pitch to the ground." And the coach looked at him and was like, "Are you serious, man? Like, have you never seen a fumble before?" It's like, "Give me a better look." So it's like everybody's being held to that the standard they talk about. But back to your point about Alex Atkins and making his offensive lineman work.
It's those things, man.
Yeah.
It's those things. A defensive lineman for West Virginia isn't going to just kind of stand up and let you push him. Yeah. Like he's going to fight you for every inch. And so you got to do that kind of stuff in practice, and you see it in the 7-on-7s, you see it in the 11-on-11s. They are really competing, and the coaches make sure they compete. And there's still going to be. It's not like it's going to flip automatically. There's still going to be some moments where that aren't great, where kids maybe don't finish like they need to. It's still not quite a part of the culture yet. It's been 2 practices, so it's going to take a lot more than 2 practices. But you see the rhyme and the reason to what Norvell is doing and why he preaches that like this. Because if this is consistent for the next 2 or 3 years, which there's no reason to think it won't be, this is his speed, this is what he does, this is how he coaches. If this program consistently coaches and practices like this for the next 2 or 3 years and has an influx of, at least, you'd hope better players, that's how you turn a program around, man. That's how you go from 6 wins to 10 or 11 wins. And it sustains itself. So, yeah, man, I'm really excited from what I've seen the first 2 practices, because my man is not a player's coach. I've said that before. Mm-hmm. He will jump on them in a heartbeat. It's Jimbo-esque.
Yes, it is.
Except there's more praise. Yeah. Jimbo, I covered plenty of Jimbo practices, and there was always a lot of yelling, and there was always a lot of instruction, but there was also a lot of yelling. It was almost never like, "There you go, EJ. That's what I'm talking about," and giving him a thumbs up. "There you go, Kenny Shaw. That's what I'm talking about, Orlando. You keeping it 100. You didn't hear that a lot from Jimbo. It was usually like, "What the hell was that?" Maybe not even that. Maybe even not that friendly. Norvell has both. You know what I mean? He's got that where he'll jump on you. He'll be all up in you. But then he'll also he'll go up and tell you, "Great job," too.
Yeah. Somebody around the program was telling me that he reminds Norvell reminds him of Urban Meyer, except not a bleep. So yeah, that's not a bad.
No, man,
comp.
Absolutely not. Urban for all his faults, and there are a few. Great football coach. Can't argue that. Yeah. Dude knows what he's doing. He knows how to run a program. Maybe not, maybe not for a long extended period of time, but he knows how to build a winner. And yeah, if he could be Urban Meyer, but without the other stuff, that would be best possible case scenario.
The last sort of macro sort of observation, and then you can obviously rebut, Corey. It's your show. I'm just living in it. And then maybe some individual kudos and observations. But another thing that kind of wanted to keep an eye on was I think that the coaching staff prior knew ball. I mean, these guys coached and won at differing levels, at differing rates of success. But I think, by and large, the guys knew football. I mean, I don't think there's anybody out there that was, like grossly, out of their league in terms of, coaching a position or being a coordinator. But there was kind of moments in practice where you would see players not get the gist, or things wouldn't absorb. It wouldn't be relayed to them in a manner or a fashion that the guys could understand it and then go ahead and apply it, right away. There was a lot of kind of, I don't know, just there was a kind of a disconnect between, not all, but there was a couple coaches that I could usually go and watch, and I could tell that they were really eager and earnest to explain to the kid what they were doing wrong and what the right way of doing it was, but it just never was conveyed in a way that you would see the kid like walk away and be like, okay, I got you. It was kind of like, all right, yes, sir, yes, coach. There was a moment in Tuesday's practice where they were running, I think it was, it was like it was 4 receivers just running on air. And they were running a deep route. I think they were running a skinny post. And 2 receivers, one was a walk-on, one was a scholarship receiver. Norvell kind of stops them after they run the route, and he's telling them, he's like, you guys got to go skinny, stay skinny, stay skinny. He's like, why? And he demonstrates to them that if they don't run out their route so wide, if they're tighter and they keep skinny, that the sort of margin for error for the throw, it's going to end up being in front of them more likely, as opposed to, and like they finish the thought. He's turning around. He's like, either you can catch it in front of you, and they're like, and he's like, what's easier? And then he starts the motion going behind them, and they're like, you're right, coach. And they were doing like the same motion in sync with him. And they're like, okay, we got you, coach. And they like the lesson was, it was like a 5-second interaction, but you could see that it clicked with the guys. And again, I know these are little things, and it sounds like we're maybe making too big of a deal out of it. And to a certain degree, it's that we didn't see the entire practice all the time from the previous app. But what we did see, we never saw a lot of good sort of, it looks like they're making growth from last week or last month. But to see the lessons kind of being taught on the spot and being picked up, again, these are macro, bigger cultural sort of things that when you get a new staff that you want to see early on. And again, these are things that we're seeing, and believe it. Like, I know everybody wants to be a little cautiously optimistic, but just be optimistic right now, I would say.
Yeah, there's no reason not to be, right?
Yeah.
No, he hadn't lost the game yet. No reason not to be optimistic. But yeah, they are. I don't know how else to say it. They're getting coached better.
They are.
Probably a lot better. Yeah. I don't think that's hyperbole. I don't think we need to see how the season plays out before we can say that. They're getting coached better. Whether it results in 9 wins or 8 wins or 6 wins, no idea. But they're being coached better. The problem is, it's only 2 days. I should qualify that. It's only 2 days. It's not even in pads, but the offense isn't great.
Right. It's not. So. It's not. And that's his responsibility. That's his side of the ball, the head football coach. But again, yeah.
Well, he's got a lot of work. He's got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. I'm not too overly worried about it, but I was thinking about it, just being out there now, being able to watch an entire practice. Might need to walk back Chubba Purdy as starting quarterback, because you just see how many reps these guys get and how valuable it is to be out there right now practicing. To think that a kid that's, I don't even know, maybe he's playing high school baseball right now, or getting ready for senior prom or something, to think that like he could show up on campus and then, I don't know, like in 70 days win the starting quarterback job. It's a pretty tall task, I would say. Pretty tall task. But it's not the end of the world right now with the way the quarterbacks are performing. It's not great by any stretch. It's not good, but I'm not panicking. They're being coached all right. So, they're being coached up, and I think so many, there's got to be new terminology. There has to be new sort of rhythm. And I'm not trying to make excuses for this, for the performance that we're seeing. But I do think right now the defense, they're just focusing on fundamentals. That's what Adam Fuller talked about. It's just like, hey, we're calling out what we're supposed to do in certain coverages. Meanwhile, receivers need to work on their depth. They need to work on getting out of their break. They need to work on timing and chemistry with the quarterback. And a lot of this stuff is new, so it's obviously not going to take off right away. But it'd be nice to see them throwing 70-yard touchdowns all the time. But you were kind of joking that probably wouldn't be a good sign either.
No, no, it wouldn't. We know. So there's no way. I don't want to say this without being hurtful. I'm not going to be hurtful, but we know what James Blackman is as a quarterback, right?
Right. Yeah.
So the stuff I saw on Tuesday didn't make me think less of him or more of him. It's just that's what he is. He's going to make some special throws and some plays that just,
Right.
that's just going to happen. But that doesn't mean he's not your best option. I did like Hot Rod. I thought he had some nice plays.
Is that what we're calling
Road Dog?
Rodemaker? Okay.
Yeah, well, I call him Hot Rod. What do you want to call him?
I don't know. That's fine. I'm not Hot Rod. That's cool.
The touchdown maker?
Okay. That's
I
good.
think that works. The TD maker, the there's a lot of things we could do with his name. We'll see. I'm not going to do much until he becomes the quarterback. You know what I mean?
Right,
I don't want to.
right.
I don't want to invest too much brain power into a great nickname if he's not going to be the starter. But I did like what I saw. He's not overwhelmed. He doesn't look out of place, does he?
No, not at all.
He made he completed more passes than the other two guys in the team stuff, but then he was also going against second, third stringers, sometimes third stringers, and not against starters. But he made some nice throws, man. He stands in the pocket and throws a nice ball, catchable ball. And yeah, Jordan. None of the guys were great. The offense didn't do much, but again, like that's to be expected. I just think none of the options are great right now.
Right.
You've got James Blackman, who we kind of know what he is. You've got Jordan Travis, who's never really played quarterback at this level, like true quarterback position. He's just been kind of a wildcat guy in the meaningful college reps he's got. And then you got two true freshmen. So it's not a great room right now. It's not a great segment right now, but maybe next year it is. And maybe Chubb is awesome. But yeah, that's a lot of time to miss.
Yeah.
That's a lot. It's hard to imagine you're going to come in and go past three dudes. Three dudes that were here for the entire spring practice and got 15 extra practices and a gazillion extra reps than you did. But that doesn't mean it can't happen. Like I said, like we talked about, Dillingham coached a true freshman last year. But what I wanted to say was that I think one thing that will help right now, the running backs have not been impressive, but they've all got some things going on, right?
There's no pads. I mean, how can you block when you're
but not only that, but Grant is not in peak physical shape right now.
Doesn't look like it.
But that should not be the case in 4 or 5 months. Yeah. And then, Laybourne is coming off what he's come off of. And then Corbin has got a hamstring injury. Mm-hmm. So you don't get to see the full arsenal of what Florida State, maybe that running back core can be. Plus they got a gazillion guys coming in the fall. Didn't they sign 12 running backs? So
7.
They're gonna have some guys to pick from. I am curious though, watching the receivers. Is one of these running backs coming in? And maybe I'm thinking specifically about the sprinter from Louisiana,
Corey Wren.
Do you move him to receiver for a year? Because other than I like Florida State's top 3 or 4.
Yeah.
DJ, obviously Tamarian Terry. I think Warren Thompson could be a huge problem if it comes together for him. And then Jordan Young has made some nice kind of wow plays. In Ontario, maybe he hasn't really Pokey hasn't really flashed to me in the first 2 days. But again, also it's no pads and it's just some 7-on-7 stuff. But I haven't been overly impressed with really any of the skill guys for Florida State, other than we know what we have in 15.
Agreed.
So that to me is something I'm going to keep an eye on for the next 5 weeks too. The development of those guys out wide.
I think a guy like Ja'Kai Douglas, who's already on campus, maybe he's an option when the cavalry arrives to be kind of flexed out to a wide receiver. He's looked pretty good, and I think Brian Robinson had kind of some difficult job of not a difficult job, but he had a difficult time catching the ball early on. So I think I did see him either make a good catch later on in practice or get a flag in 7-on-7. But Brian Robinson's a guy that maybe as a true freshman, obviously more reps he gets could kind of emerge as a a pretty nice little weapon for them. I mean, he's listed at 6'1", 185, but man, he looks bigger than that. He plays bigger than that. So otherwise, anybody stand out to you? I know where you're going to probably go. So let me jump at, let me get ahead of you, or let me slide in ahead of you here real quick. I thought Carlos Becker had a pretty good practice. Raymond Woody also had a good practice. The 2 picks he had in 11-on-11 were just absolute terrible throws by the quarterback right to him. It was like pretty much like a punt. It was an arm punt. But I saw Carlos Becker have a couple good snaps in coverage, and Isaiah Bolden also had one, I think, on Terry. That was real good. I mean, those guys are going head to head, and there's referees out there, so they'll throw flags if guys are, if it's pass interference. So I saw real good stuff out of those 2 defensive backs, Carlos Becker, or the 3, I guess you could say, with Raymond Woody, Carlos Becker, and Isaiah Bolden. They all look pretty darn solid to me.
And you intentionally didn't say Asante?
Correct. That's your guy. I'm not going to take it from you.
No, Asante's been, again, he was the best player on the field. He had another 3 or 4 pass breakups, at least 2 on Terry again, down the sideline on like back shoulder fade throws. He's just, he doesn't let that dude catch much. He's been really, really impressive. But yeah, I also thought McCray had a couple splash plays where he had a couple pass breakups and one that was almost a pick 6. And then Raymond Woody, he had two picks that were kind of just thrown up to him. But in the 1-on-1s and in the 7-on-7s, he's also really breaking on the ball well. Like maybe he's just one of those dudes that can find the ball, can go get the ball. So that's to me, he stood out not just because of the 2 picks, but because of other things he did throughout the day. Other than that, it's hard to, again, without pads on, what are you really supposed to know about the linemen?
Yeah.
Like going up against each other. That's just hard to know. Like it just is. So yeah, it's mainly for the first 2 or 3 practices, all the positives and negatives that we're going to see as lay people is through the prism of 7-on-7, through the skill guys.
Yeah.
Who stands out, who makes splash plays. And I think that's a good list. But again, Warren Thompson to me, it's all right. Oh, and Carter Boatwright had a great catch down the sideline. In a one-on-one battle. I think Wyatt Rector had a nice play, but
Deontay Sheffield had a good run, didn't he?
He did, yeah. Carter Boatwright made a great diving one-handed catch over his shoulder for about 25 or 30 yards. He's a big kid that can move pretty well, and Wyatt Rector can move pretty well too. So yeah, there's kids that make splashes, but I'm really looking forward to the pads coming on. I don't know if that happens Thursday or they wait until they get back from spring break. But I think that's when we're really going to be able to talk more informed about how well the line is playing. I did want to say one thing I saw on Twitter that was kind of cool was Adam Fuller. Did you see that?
No, that was pretty
tweeted out.
Give me no information there.
Well, I didn't know if you saw. I mean, you would know what I was talking about if you had seen it.
Okay.
He tweeted out all the takeaways that his team had in team drills.
Okay.
The defense had in team drills. And it said
Operation Takeaway, right? Or something like that?
Yeah. Operation Take. It's a graphic
that
says Operation Takeaway with a picture of the kid. So like Raymond Woody. And then it says this one is Raymond Woody, date March 10th, period, team, place. And then it says play number 4.
Okay.
And then his other one said play number 21. And so he's putting that on Twitter, which I just think that's cool, man. That's another they really preach turnovers. Every program does, obviously, but they really preach turnovers. And anytime his guys get a turnover in practice, he's going to tweet about it with a cool graphic.
It's funny. I'm looking at my notepad and I have an 11-on-11, 1, 2, 3, the 4th play, interception, 31. So yeah,
there you go, buddy. See, Fuller's on it.
All coming together.
We should beat him to the punch. We should start doing that.
I know, right? Just
we do Operation Takeaway.
Yeah. Otherwise, the only thing that again,
it should be Operation Give Me That shit. That's what you and I will do. Can you bleep that?
Certainly.
All right, thanks, buddy. But yeah, I think that's what you should tweet.
Okay. I'll see what I can do. Otherwise, another thing that's a little bit concerning, field goal kicking was not very sharp.
Yeah, you should have put that in the observations because I completely forgot to.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and do that. I'll do it. That'll be my one contribution. Everybody loves special teams. Thanks, Corey. Thanks for letting me fly that one up the flagpole for the fans.
They were 1 of 4 on their kicks to start practice.
Yeah, I think they made the first one, so that's good. Parker Grotehouse made it, and then the subsequent 3 kicks after that were missed, and some of them were missed.
38-yarder, and then is it Fitzpatrick? Right, came after him.
Fitzgerald.
God, I always want to call him Fitzpatric, and we're so close to St. Patrick's Day.
I think his name is Ryan, so you think about the quarterback, probably. It's natural.
Oh yeah, there you go, Ryan Fitzgerald. So he missed a short one, and then he also missed a 38-yarder.
Yeah.
But I think both of them made their kicks at the end with the whole team.
Okay.
Well, I know Grotehouse did. I don't know if it's oh boy,
Fitzgerald.
I'm just gonna call him
Fitzy.
Fitz. There's no way I'm getting that right.
All right, call him Fitzy. It's okay.
Fitzy. I don't know if Fitzy made his because I was going to the IPF, but I know Grotehouse made his when they were all surrounding him. Yeah. So he came back. He answered the call.
Yeah. Also, I think I do think they won't be in pads on Thursday. I think you need to get 3 full, like you have 3 acclimation practices, I think, before you can put pads on. Also, I keep seeing sometimes that we're talking about these guys are in shells. They're not even in shells. They're not in pads. They're not even in shoulder pads. They're just in helmet, jersey, and shorts. So, even if they were like in shells, you can still thud. You can
you're right.
Do a little grabbing and stuff. So I do want to kind of clarify that it's there's a little bit of difference between shirts and shorts. We need to find something else to call it besides shirts and shorts because they're not wearing shirts and they're But anyhow, those are the things that keep me up at night, Corey. Otherwise, that's about all I have from my notepad. I'm glad that your notepad came in handy and you're able to make some observations of yourself, Corey. But it's great. It really is. I might have to start bringing like a lawn chair with me, maybe a PB&J. Those are long days. That's like 3 hours of me being out there. It's like I wake up at 7:45, have my breakfast around 8, and then I don't get back here till like afternoon. So it's like 4 hours without me eating, which gets me hangry. So I probably need to start bringing like a chair so I can sit down and relax for a minute, or at least like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. They're long days out there watching these practices. I really do hope they win.
You know what?
It's gonna suck to wake up and watch 2.5 hours of practice if they're like 2-4. So win some games for me, gentlemen, please.
I'm all about that. I'm all about that too. I want a 3-0 start. That's not too much to ask. 3 wins. It's not too much to ask. West Virginia ain't good. Boise State's beatable. That second game you should win. But give me a 3-0 start and let's get some excitement around this program. I know that's 6 months away. But still, I'm thinking about it now. Get me a 3-0 start. Think about our numbers if they were 3-0 and ranked like 17.
My goodness.
Ooh, doctor. We'd be number 1. We'd be right ahead of WTF. And like Dax Shepard's podcast, we'd be right up there with all of them.
How has that guy got one of the top-rated podcasts? I don't know if Joe Rogan or Dax Shepard having like one of the highest-rated podcasts in the world makes me more frustrated at life.
With Dax, though, like I listen, and at first I hated him. Like I gave it 1 or 2 listens because he gets incredible guests, obviously. And then I'm like, man, I can't listen to this guy anymore. He talks so much, and I know it's it's called the Armchair Expert, so it's implied that he thinks he knows a ton. But then the more I listen to him, I'm like, you know what? This guy is really intelligent, more intelligent than I would have ever thought. And he does get, he gets some really good interviews, and they have like real talks. He's gone through some stuff in his life that I had no idea about because who knows anything about Dax Shepard other than he's married to what's her name?
Kristen Bell.
There you go, the princess from not Aladdin. What's that movie?
Sarah Marshall from Forgetting Sarah Marshall. How about that?
I know, but she's in the huge. What's that huge movie? She was the princess in
Frozen. The cartoon?
There you go.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There you go.
I didn't know that.
She's in there. So, but yeah, he's really kind of a thoughtful dude. You could tell he was just probably an awful person to be around about 15 years ago. Yeah. But he seems to have grown up and matured, and he gets good guests. So every now and again, I'll give him a listen. Oh, but yeah, we need to be ahead of him.
You made me listen to like 2 episodes on the way back from Omaha at like 3 a.m, driving through Tennessee. I remember it vividly.
We listened to Dax?
Yeah, him interviewing Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because I like her a lot.
Yeah.
So that's right. That was like 4 a.m. That was a rough day, my man. But we made it. We did it.
So Florida State gets West Virginia, Samford, Boise, NC State, and then Clemson. Can I push it? Can I request 4-0
No,
so that game
no.
day gets here?
How about we just 3-1 is what we're looking for.
Okay.
Any combination to get us to 3-1 going to Clemson, just make it happen. So there can obviously we don't expect a win over Clemson, but be 3-1 and have some confidence, and get 75,000 people in that stadium for that game, and not all wearing orange. Get some excitement around this program again. That's all we're looking for, man. That's all we're looking for.
Weird question. Would you rather be 3-1 going into the Clemson game and you lose 31-13, or would you be 4-0 game day Tallahassee, but you lose to them in the manner that Florida State lost to Oklahoma in 2010?
Or Clemson the last 2 years?
No, not that bad.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that 2010 was rough,
bad.
dude. That was
That
like
was bad,
37-7.5. They had 400 yards. They scored every possession.
Old Bobby took mercy on his brother too. Yeah,
he did. Yeah. No, I mean, I'd say they're one and the same. Those Clemson games and that Oklahoma game. Yeah. No, I think you need to compete. You need to compete against Clemson. I think that's almost as important as. I don't know though. If you go 4-0 in September, as long as you don't lose 80-0. I think that's to Clemson. I think that's a what a great start that would be, man. What a great sign that would be. Yeah. Just to get energy and confidence, energy around the program, and then the players' confidence and the fans' confidence, and that Norvell really knows what he's doing. So, I think you want the 4-0 no matter what the Clemson game is. A loss is a loss. Am I right, Aslan?
You're right. But yeah, compete. That'd be nice. Go into the fourth quarter.
That's assuming, of course, that they'll even have sporting events in September.
It's a good point. We might not even be here. Hopefully they still have. That's crazy. The Ivy League, like the poor Ivy League, can't even compete for a title. It's over. Regular season champs.
Well, the thing with the Ivy League though is they had always for a long time. I think it's just to like a few years ago.
Yeah, the regular season champ. Yeah.
It was always the regular season. They didn't even have a conference tournament.
Yeah,
it was always a regular season champ. But yeah, it's just crazy. Like, not crazy. I'm not going to get into like whether you think this is overblown or mass hysteria or completely understandable, but I just don't understand. Like, I think we're all I'm under the impression now, and I'm of the belief that there is about a 98% chance that Florida State will be playing in Tampa next week with no fans.
98%? Oh, Corey, you can't say that on a...
I'm almost close to 100, but I'm about 90. I mean, I know that is close to 100, but I'm 98% sure they'll be playing in Tampa without fans. It's just the way, there's already been the MAC tournament is just canceled to fans, and it's just for basically media and a few people at the traveling parties. Another conference tournament has already done that. The Stanford and US, there's like 4 Pac-12 schools that any sporting event they have on campus is not going to be open to fans. And yet the Pac-12 tournament is still starting like tomorrow in Las Vegas with no restrictions.
Yeah.
Like the ACC tournament started Tuesday night. It continues today and through Saturday night with apparently no restrictions. So it doesn't seem congruous to me how that works. Like, okay, so it's okay for now for the next 3 days, but there's probably a really good chance that it's all going to be fanless moving forward. Well, wouldn't it make sense then to do it now so that maybe the Sweet 16 can have fans? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know enough about it. I don't know how pandemics spread necessarily, but I just think that we need to get our mindset that there will probably not be any fans in Tampa watching Florida State, which is great. You earn a 2 seed or at worst a 3 seed. You win the ACC. You have a really excited fan base that would travel really well for that tournament, and it's going to be played maybe in front of no one. If you're sick and coughing, stay home.
Please, seriously. What they need to do is make each team that's participating have watch parties at their actual arena and then pipe in the audio from each arena on separate sides of the venue that the game is actually being played at. So like at Emily Arena in Tampa, if Florida State's playing Belmont, Like, you should pack the Tuck, and then Belmont will put all their people in their stands, and they'll watch the game in their arena, and then or CBS will just pipe in the audio from the Tuck, and wherever Belmont plays, they'll pipe that into Amalie Arena in Tampa. That way, and then the players can actually see a projection screen of the Tuck, and when they make a shot, they can look over and see everybody in the Tucker Center going crazy and cheering, and Belmont can do the same. So that way, there's a little bit of kind of fan involvement, but everyone also stays safe.
Yeah, but the people in the Civic Center at the watch party wouldn't be safe.
We're fine in Tallahassee.
Okay.
We were at a game like 72 hours ago, man.
I know, buddy. I know. And what are the odds that, like, the craziness is like, okay, so say, because the MAC conference was like, okay, no, we're going to shut it down to fans except for 150 people in the traveling parties, the media, the broadcasters, and like 2 or 3 other little pockets of people. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, what if one of them has it? Like, there's a pretty, that's still 300 or 400 people. Obviously the odds are much higher if there's 12,000 as opposed to 400. But how do you know one of them doesn't have it? And then what if a player, for heaven's sake, tests positive? Like, you can't, like, say going into, because I think they said there was a guy at the BYU Gonzaga game from when they upset Gonzaga that apparently tested positive for it. That was at that game with 11,000 people or 9,000 people, whatever it is. Well, say there's a kid on the BYU team that tests positive, and BYU is the 10 seed in Florida State's region. Well, okay, does BYU still get to play in the tournament? Right. Do you test them all?
Yeah.
Do you test all the people that BYU played? It's a really surreal, bizarre situation. But I will say this, folks: if they do somehow, for some reason, cancel the tournament altogether.
Whoa! What are you doing, Corey? Why are you talking
like this? Hey, man, I'm just saying it because the USA Today already wrote. I'm just getting people prepared, man. This isn't getting better. Each day, more and more stuff gets canceled.
Fake news.
Sure. But if it does get canceled, Florida State's the 2020 national champion. Prove me wrong.
Well,
if UCF can hang a banner, Florida State's the 2020 national champion.
All right. Okay. I'm about it.
Nobody took it from them. You can't tell me they weren't going to win it. So anyway, hang a banner. Hang ACC tournament and regular season. I guess they're not going to cancel that. That's just what's going to bother me is they're going to play this. There's no thought at all, really. It doesn't appear of not having fans at that tournament in North Carolina. But then 4 days later, there's going to be probably nobody in Tampa for the more important game. And it's like, okay, yeah, because North Carolina, that's their thing. That's their little crown jewel is their basketball tournament. They love it. And they're not going to let anybody take that away from them. Meanwhile, 4 days later, Florida State's going to, they'll get to play Duke in front of 9,000 Duke fans. But then 5 days later, they'll play Belmont in front of no one. I'm hoping that's not happening. I'm a cynic by heart. I'm a glass half empty kind of guy by nature, I think. So I might be wrong. But, man, we got to read the tea leaves, man. We got to read the way this thing is going. They're shutting down everything. They canceled my Pearl Jam concert or postponed it.
Oh, no. That's right. Yep. The one in Chicago, the
Nashville. No, we didn't get the one to Chicago. Oh. It was instead in Nashville. I couldn't do the one they still haven't said they're going to do one in Wrigley. So we did. I got tickets to Nashville April 2nd, 2 days before the Final Four. A nice, easy drive down to Atlanta to watch the Noles in the Final Four afterwards, but they postponed it. So I'm just saying that's postponed. South by Southwest was canceled. Yeah. Coachella was moved. All these things that have thousands of fans have been moved, or postponed, or canceled. I just can't fathom that come Monday we're not going to have an announcement from the NCAA saying, unless this somehow just completely curtails, and we don't keep reading about 200 or 300 cases, new cases a day, that they're not going to just say. I still don't think they're going to. I can't imagine they're going to cancel it. I just can't imagine it. Yeah. But I definitely see a scenario. In fact, I think it's almost a probability at this point, a high probability that they're going to play it in front of empty arenas.
I mean, they didn't cancel the Super Bowl when the bubonic plague was around, so.
That's true. That's true. That killed like millions.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say optimistic. Yeah, well, we're not going out on this. This is way too much of a bummer to go out on.
No, we go back to baseball.
All right, let's go back to baseball then. Will there be a series at Hauser this weekend with Georgia Tech? Is the game today against Illinois State going to happen, Corey? What say ye, Coracle?
I think they'll play a game this week. I think they'll play the games this weekend. It's baseball too, man. Like you're not sweating on anybody in baseball. But I don't know what they'll do as far as the crowds. I really don't. I know, and it's not. We're not the people to talk about whether it's the right or wrong thing to do. I think I'm kind of be honest with you. I'm for an overabundance of caution when you see what's going on in Italy, and they had like 170 people die on Tuesday. And they really mucked it up at the beginning. You kind of see how important it is to get ahead of this thing. I don't want my mom contracting this thing. I don't really worry about myself or Brady, but I do worry about my mom a lot. And I guess I'm going to tell her to quit going to the rodeo. Ooh. So, but why are you waving me like that?
That's Sharon's thing. Don't take away Sharon's joy.
Oh yeah, she's right. Stephanie's here, kind of half watching The Bachelor and kind of half listening to me. She's like, you're supposed to bring it up a notch, not down. And I just went back to a downer of my mom getting sick with the coronavirus. But yeah, so I don't know what Florida State will do for these baseball games as far as fans. As far as we know, everything's on as planned. But we don't know if there will be a national or a state edict that is out of their control in the next couple of days or in the next week. There might be an edict, a mandatory, you can't do this. You can't have anything over 500 fans. You can't have gatherings of more than 500 people. So anyway, but yeah, hey, the baseball team won a big game in Gainesville, and that was really cool to see. I talked to Meat afterwards. He was Meat. He was
he's awesome. He's just the best. I mean, right now, you want to talk about? I can't think of a better university to cover right now if you care about, quote, the big three, than maybe Florida State. Ham's awesome. What Norvell's doing right now in terms of access is pretty much unprecedented in this day and age. And Meat is just the most genuine guy. I mean, I love what he said on the program yesterday just about, you mentioned about what is it like now having to actually go in front of, the media after these games and talk about stuff. And maybe there was a question there where he basically said, listen, like I kind of told the guys, like, if you don't play good, I'm not going to go up there and defend you. It's like, that's amazing. That's awesome. Right. He's like, listen, I'm not going to go up there and be like, he had a tough day, but it wasn't his fault. He's going to keep it real with us. It's refreshing, and especially for a fan base that constantly harped on his dad being the gentleman, debonair man of baseball and tipping his cap to his opponent that would vanquish him year after year. You want it, you got it. I'm all in, man. I love it. I love the mentality that he has.
And when I talked to him, he was not over the moon about the win. I'm sure he was pleased. Obviously, the streak is over, and he's never lost a game to Florida as the head coach. But he said we've got to play better. He goes, he was lamenting 13 runners on base, left on base. Just 2 runs. He's like, obviously Florida can really pitch it. He goes, but I thought we played defense pretty well, but we struck out 15 of their guys. So that's 5 innings where they didn't put the ball in play. So, but he was right on about the pitching staff, man.
Oh yeah.
When we asked him for the Tuesday show about playing Florida, and he's like, well, we feel like now we can match them arm for arm, which they haven't been able to do in over a decade. And he ain't lying. Messick and Velez were really good, and he said we had 3 or 4 other guys ready to go if we needed them. That we have all the confidence in the world.
He did. I didn't. When I saw the bullpen shot of Chase Haney and Jonas Galaro, I'm like, oh God, no, please, no.
No, those guys are good though, man. They've had everybody's had some. They're not as good as Messick, I don't think, but those guys are good. They've gotten big outs this year, and they've gotten big outs in their career. But he talked to 11. He said he talked to 11 after the game, and he said, man, I just wish in one of your last seasons you would have gotten a staff like this. I mean, and Meat doesn't say that kind of stuff flippantly.
No.
This is one of the best pitching staffs in the country. There's other stuff they got to get better at, and he's like, look, he goes, it's great that we beat Florida, but it's like we're not. And he said it on the show with us too. He's like, we're not worried about who we're playing.
Right.
And I know that sounds cliche, but it's true. We're trying to play the game right, Because we play the game right. If we do well for ourselves, we're going to win games. And he goes, we're trying to play for the end of the year. We're getting ready for May and June, not for March. So, yeah, it's great that we won, but this isn't what we care about. We care about the end of the season. And this is building up to that. And he's trying to get these kids to buy in just how good they are, or how good they could be. Well, he's right, man. They scored 2 runs. Couldn't get a clutch hit the whole game, really.
No.
And still beat Florida. Still beat the number 1 team in the country.
Let me ask you this. I don't want to denigrate baseball at the expense of football or vice versa or whatever I'm trying to say here. But, we're talking about how, crucial it would have been for Willie if he would have been able to maybe win Virginia Tech or at least win Boise last year. Like, beating Florida in this first game, like, I think it's on the same level of importance. Maybe not as much, but it's in the same zip code, man. It's in the same neighborhood. I think of the importance of West Virginia football for the football team. If Florida State can beat West Virginia and Atlanta in September, I think sky's the limit for them in 2010. Not sky's 2010. What I'm talking about 2020. I shouldn't say sky's the limit, but it's 8-9 wins starts becoming like a real thing. I think him beating Florida first go around, especially for what he's trying to instill, and talks about this team needs to be tough. Mental discipline is a huge thing that he keeps harping on. This game was going according to script almost to most of the last 11 games they lost. Didn't Connor Grady throw a gem last year in Tallahassee? Like, he went 7 innings or so,
yeah, and
it was a close game, and then everything came unglued when they went to the bullpen. And there was a couple other games that kind of followed that same script, and the fact that they left 12 guys on base, but they picked the ball up. There was strikeouts galore, which makes things a lot easier, obviously, for the defense. Robbie Martin had a huge catch in right field.
Yeah.
I think the second or third inning to rob a home run. Maybe it was the first inning. I don't remember. But, yeah, I mean, I think beating Florida in this fashion, I think goes a long way to not so much buying, but to at least kind of change the way that this team has to feel about themselves in big moments and big games.
Yeah, I think so. I thought you were coming at it from the angle of what the fans think, how big it was for the fans with 11, the meet. But no, I was going to say that doesn't really matter. It really doesn't. But I think it can mean something for this baseball team, for the players.
Yeah.
They none of those guys had ever beaten them.
No.
Heck, the last 2 senior classes had never beaten them. So I just think they played Texas Tech pretty well, but kind of faltered when it mattered most. In those moments. And then
leads.
The same thing with Duke for those 2 games, the first 2 games against Duke. But now they beat, Duke's a top 10 team, and they beat them on Saturday on the road, and then or Sunday, and they just beat another top 10 team on the number 1 team in the country on the road on Tuesday. That can do nothing but help your confidence. Moving forward, even in April, if you're struggling, if you're going through a little 2-game or 3-game mini slump, you're like, we know what our potential is. Yeah. We 3-hit the number 1 team in the country. We know how good we can be. And yeah, so I think that's good to prove to themselves that they belong as well. They're a top 10, top 15-ish type talented team. And all of it, almost all of it is that pitching staff.
Yeah.
Just electric guys, man. Electric. Florida's going to go CJ Van Eyck's entire tenure without ever facing him, I think.
Yeah.
Because of the goofiness of the way they do the series. And again, on the flip side, Florida has had a ton of great pitchers in recent years, starting pitchers that Florida State didn't see either because they're weekend guys. But still, just to stop the streak, it was so random and weird. Like, it wasn't like Florida was going 25-0 non-conference every year. They lost to Florida A&M non-conference one year. Yeah. But then they just had Florida State's number. Yeah. So just getting over that hump, that mental hurdle, for a coach that cares a lot about the mental hurdles that come with this sport, I think it can be a big deal moving forward. I'm not expecting it to start a 26-game winning streak or anything,
right? But
I think it gives them a little bit of jolt, especially the 2 guys that pitched, and maybe even Nander for getting a run home when he absolutely had to get a run home. Yeah. And the Simmons kid had 3 hits. I think stuff like that.
I did. That's a huge potential. Development, I think. They need somebody at first base. I mean, that's like taller than 6'1" would be nice, but also can swing. I mean, they need anybody that can swing a bat, period. But if he's a guy that can be reliable at first base and can, I mean, he got 2 doubles last night. That could be something to keep an eye on. That could be a huge sort of boon to this program.
Hey, you know what? Well said, my man. Well said.
Yeah, sorry.
How about that Bachelor, by the way, huh? What a crazy ending that was.
I know. I should probably get into it. Everyone says
Stephanie just said it was the worst ending in history. I don't know exactly what happened. I know the mom of one of the mom of the Bachelor was a real piece of work.
Okay.
But you never know what. So the mom acts crazy, right? Is that fair to say? She acts crazy. How much of that is real? And how much of that is like, man, this would be great television if she acted like a crazy person? How much do you think of reality TV is actually real? Like 12%?
Yeah, about, if that.
Yeah, I think all of it. It's hard to know. I feel like the first season of The Real World, way back when, up to maybe the Puck season. So we're talking that's early 90s.
That was like the second season, I think.
Puck was third. Puck was third.
LA was second. Yeah, LA was two.
It was New York, LA, then San Fran.
Right.
I think New York and LA were real. That was reality. Those were real shows, real people. They had jobs. They had like real jobs they had to go to. Yeah. And then once Puck happened, and how it seemed like he did. I know a lot of people don't even know what I'm talking about. And I was going to say go Google it, but don't waste your time. Yeah. There was this idiot named Puck on the Real World in San Francisco that did everything. He was disgusting. He just tried to get attention. He just tried to get people to talk about him. He became like the quote unquote star of the show because he was just so unlikable. Yeah. And I think that's when reality stopped becoming reality TV. It's like, we got to have a Puck. Yeah. Who's going to be our Puck? Who's going to be the guy that incites things? Yeah. And if we can't find one, we'll tell him to do it. And it faltered from there. And that's Corey Clark's take on reality television after seeing 45 minutes of The Bachelor on Monday night.
Podcast will be dropping soon. By the way, before we go, somebody started a burner account, I think, because I looked and saw, and I think they literally joined 2 days ago or 3 days ago or 3 days before they sent me a direct message. They told me that they heard on the podcast that I was talking about starting my own political podcast. And they were like, dude, do it. I would be so interested in hearing you and Corey talk politics. So that's
no
out
chance.
there. That's out there.
There's zero chance. If you see me at a bar,
what if we have alter egos and I alter our voice so nobody knows it's us?
But it still comes out under the Wake Up Warchant banner.
No, come on, man.
Okay. Man. No, I would never put my political thoughts on air necessarily. But if you see me at a bar, and as long as you don't call me Sweet Pea, if you see me drinking an Ultra at the bar and you come up and want to ask or talk about it, I'll be happy to talk to you about it. But I'm not talking about that stuff. It's just, again, I would not write a column about, like, I don't know, gun regulation on Warchant. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, nobody signs up for Warchant to get my thoughts on gun control. So I wouldn't.
What are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that we need to control guns, huh? Is that what you're trying to say? Huh? You lib? You flaming lib,
you can
huh?
rip my gun from my hands when I'm cold. I can't remember how the saying goes.
You
see the Biden thing, by the way? Tell that guy he was cool. Yeah, that was something.
I saw the tweet, but I didn't get to hear everything that was
going on. I will say this, the one political comment I will make, and this is it. What a crazy election we're about to have.
Yeah.
We got two dudes that, number one, are more susceptible to coronavirus than anyone.
Stop.
What is Trump, 75? And Biden is 77 or 78?
I don't know. Don't be ageist. Don't be ageist, Corey. We got to go. I feel it.
Okay, sorry.
We got to go.
Love you guys. Love all my listeners.
Democrats and Republicans listen to podcasts too, as Michael Jordan would probably say.
I wasn't even saying it. It's just we've never had the combined age of these two candidates is going to be the highest we've ever had.
5 p.m. live on YouTube, Renegade Express. Post your questions on the Tribal Council. And if you're on YouTube, we'll take your questions too. We'll probably try to keep it nice and tight, maybe like 40 minutes or so, because we'll either have Ira or Dallin Cuff to also give us the latest from the ACC tournament, which hopefully will have live human beings in the stands cheering their guts out for their favorite team. He is Corey Clark, the lead writer at Warchant.com. I'm Aslan Javandi. This has been Wake Up Warchant, which is proudly presented by Zaxby's. Indescribably good. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Some call them lunchtime lifesavers. Others call them the most perfect sandwiches to ever exist. At Zaxby's, we just call them our signature fan favorites. The Southern TLC Filet Sandwich has hand-breaded chicken with fresh tomato and crisp lettuce. The famous Kickin' Chicken Sandwich features spicy tongue torch and Cool Ranch sauces. And for a limited time, fried pickles are back. 2 classic sandwiches and a legendary appetizer. 3 more reasons you're gonna get a kick out of Zaxby's.